I have another spooky story for you guys. Super excited about this one because this is the first vampire story that we've received so far. So let's just jump right into it. I'm going to read to you the story that the person submitted to me. They do want to remain anonymous, so I will not tag them, but feel free to leave comments because they will see them as they check and watch this video. I know you might think I'm crazy, but I'm pretty sure I dated an energy vampire. Now I know how that sounds, trust me. I wouldn't believe it if I hadn't lived it. I used to think energy vampires were just a metaphor, like when people talk about toxic partners or narcissists who suck the life out of you. But after what I went through with Josh, quote unquote, names have been changed, I think some of them are real. I met Josh about 10 years ago. He had just moved to my tiny hometown from somewhere up north. Everyone else in my town had grown up together, married each other, divorced each other, or all three. So when Josh walked into the store where I worked, I was really intrigued. He was tall, soft spoken, and charming in a low key, old world sort of way. He said please and thank you a lot. He held doors open, brought me flowers, specifically my favorite flowers, even though I never told him which ones I liked. I remember thinking he was the most intuitive and sensitive guy that I'd ever met. Now, my friends, on the other hand, they clocked him right away. They weren't impressed by him at all. From the very beginning, they said there was something off about him. Not in the obvious sense, he didn't do anything rude or disrespectful, but it was more so that they said they got a strange feeling from him. One of my friends said that she felt weird when he was around. My best friend, Danny, told me she got cold every time he came over, almost like someone had opened up a window behind her. Another one of my friends, Marco, flat out said, I don't think that guy's human, and made jokes that Josh was actually a lizard person. I, of course, laughed it off and kept seeing him. After only a few months of dating, we actually moved in together. But after a while, I started noticing some strange things happening to me. I've always been a naturally bubbly person. I like to laugh, I like to host parties, I'll chat with random people in the grocery store line. That's just the type of person I am. But over time, it was almost like that version of me was slowly draining away. I started to feel more tired and irritable. I started canceling on my friends and eventually just stopped showing up when we had plans, even though I wanted to see my friends. It just felt easier to stay at home, away from people, except for Josh. Whenever Josh was having a bad day, which became more frequent as the months went on, he'd insist on only spending time together alone. He was a very touchy person and would specifically hold on to my wrist, my shoulders, or my lower back. He'd say things like, I just need your energy for a second, babe. You've got so much light. It's comforting. I thought it was sweet at first, but I noticed that after he touched me, I always felt wiped out, almost like I had just run a marathon or pulled an all-nighter. But Josh, on the other hand, he would brighten up instantly. There were these little things about him that were strange enough for me to notice, but not so much that made me want to break up with him. For example, he refused to go anywhere with me unless he was specifically invited by the host, so he'd never come with me as a plus one. I found this out when we went to my cousin's wedding and I didn't tell him that he was my plus one. Josh refused to come into the venue until I explicitly told him that he was invited and could come in. Later, when we got home, he told me to never leave him outside like that again. I was so confused because I didn't think I did anything wrong. This happened multiple times. He'd wait outside my apartment or my car until I said something like, come in or you can get in now. If I forgot, he would just stand there smiling like it was a game, saying, I'm a gentleman. I don't enter uninvited. It's an old English custom. That just didn't sit right with me, so I tried looking it up, but there was nothing about an old English tradition. But there was some stuff about vampires. Of course, I thought this was silly, but something about it kind of resonated with me. So when I asked him more about this supposed old English tradition, he just deflected with some story about etiquette and propriety and being a gentleman. So I just chalked it up to weird quirks. I wanted to believe that he was just a little eccentric. There were moments when his face seemed different. That's hard to explain, but I'll try. Sometimes in certain lighting, when he was upset, his features would kind of blur. His cheekbones looked sharper, his skin looked paler, and his eyes seemed to get darker. And I don't just mean like he looked tired or the lighting was different, so that made him look different. I mean, his eyes actually seemed to turn nearly black while I was staring directly into them. Every time it happened, it would only last a second, so I convinced myself that I was just seeing things. But there was a pattern. Whenever I had a particularly good day, like if I got a promotion at work, or went out dancing with friends, or spent the afternoon laughing with my sister, he'd get this almost hungry look in his eyes next time he saw me. He'd be extra affectionate. He'd want to hold me close, kiss my neck, stroke my arms. It felt like he was feeding off of my happiness. And every time he touched me, despite how happy I was, and without fail, I'd wake up the next morning feeling like death. My head was foggy, I felt nauseous, and just completely exhausted. About a year into our relationship, we started fighting a lot. He would gaslight me constantly over everything, even the smallest details that really didn't even matter. That's when I realized he was draining my energy. Based on how he was acting, I thought he might be a narcissist. But it wasn't until I started flinching away from his touch that things escalated. I didn't even realize I was doing it at first. Instinctively, I would shrink back and pull away from him when he tried to touch me. And every time he did that, I could see anger building behind his eyes. His compliments to me started coming with an edge. You used to be so affectionate. Or, I guess you don't need me anymore now that things are going well for you. Guilt became his favorite weapon. He'd sulk, go quiet for hours, and then one night he said, I just don't feel full in this relationship anymore. It was such an odd phrase that it replayed in my head for weeks. The last straw came one night after a friend's bachelorette party. We had so much fun and I was finally feeling like myself again. When I got home, Josh was already waiting. He grabbed me as soon as I walked through the door and tried to kiss me. I pushed him back and told him I was too tired and drunk and to just give me some space. He snapped. His eyes went black. His voice dropped to a strange, gravelly tone that I'd never heard from him before. And he calmly said, You don't get to pull away now. You opened the door, you let me in, and now I need you. The terror I felt after he said that was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. I sensed that something inhuman was standing in front of me wearing a man's skin. The next morning, while Josh was at work, I packed up as much of my stuff as I could and left a note that just said, Don't contact me, and left. I drove several states away to my sister's house and changed my number. 6 months later, I moved again just to be safe and set up a whole new life. Thankfully, I haven't seen him since. But sometimes, when I'm out with friends or feeling especially happy, I'll catch the faintest whiff of his cologne or feel the slightest touch against my wrist. I don't think I'll ever be fully detached from him, but for now, I'll take just never seeing him again. So what do you think about this guy? Leave your thoughts down in the comments and be sure to like and follow for more spooky stories.